Hi, everybody, and welcome to another brand new episode of Bookworm After Dark, or in this case, After Dusk, where we're going to be talking about a few different book related things. I'm your host, Elizabeth Berg, and tonight we're going to be talking about Kindle updates, book reading updates, and I'm going to get to answer some book related questions that I've always wanted to actually answer to somebody. So, grab your drink of choice. Tonight is my chai that I've been nursing all day. And let's get started. So I hope everyone has been having a wonderful summer. I know with the smog and everything else, it's been kind of hard to be outside. Um, so is that a good excuse to stay inside and read? I mean, bad joke, I know. But in all seriousness, though, being inside has been able to give me an opportunity to read a good bit. I have been using my Kindle for the past couple weeks. I have read 19 books on my Kindle since I purchased it, and I have about 118 books on my Kindle as we speak. Some of which we're going to be talking about tonight. Um, to my friends who've been telling me, get a Kindle, a pop socket so that way you don't drop it on your face. It has been such a game changer. I think it's honestly spoiled me because I have not really wanted to pick up a regular book since. Uh, so, I mean, am I really late to the Kindle game? Yeah. But am I happy to be a part of it? Yes. So, I think the first thing I'm going to talk about real quick is how I'm doing on my book goal. If you remember last December, um, I explained that I was in a book rut from the summertime, and it didn't hit me until December to really get excited to start reading again. So, keeping that in mind, I decided to do the Goodreads book challenge where I mark like what books I read. And I'm very proud of myself because I am at book 47 of 50. So, am I going to be beating my goal? Yes. And am I going to be exceeding my goal? Also, yes. Am I mad about it though? No. I'm so happy. Um, Now, how many of those have been Kindle? Um, what's that? Let's see. I'm embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 of them. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been pretty great. I really love my Kindle. Um, and it's been really beneficial and helpful when I'm like traveling, when I'm on the bus. So, I mean, I'm not mad about that. But in all seriousness, though, I've only charged it twice. And it holds battery really well, so it's been also really nice. Like I literally have been falling asleep with my Kindle. So do that with what you wish. But I mean, I'm really excited about my Kindle and how many books I have. And it's been really a great time to just really get comfortable like on my chair and just read for hours. And we're going to actually talk about that in a little bit. So, how am I going to be answering these questions? I've written about 10 questions and I'm going to pick a handful that I'm going to answer. And these are honest to goodness, truthful answers. Um, I'm going to be talking about books that I'm not going to finish. I'm going to be talking about books that I'm currently reading, and I'm going to be talking about books that I want to read and my personal preferences. So I just also want to put this out there that this is a open channel. This is a non-judgmental channel. So I cannot control obviously what you think and what you do, but what I do ask of you is this is a space where we can be able to read and talk about the books that we find. And it's why I created this space was because there's too many people in this world who don't have people to talk to about what they want to read. So I'm trying to just open that up so that way we can really get to do the one thing we love, and that's reading. So let's start by doing some questions while I have my tea with me. So, how many books have I read this year? I've read 47. Um, I've been using my Kindle. I haven't really been using my one book app. Let me think. Book of the month. I really haven't been really using it. Book of the month has this opportunity where you can mark books that you've already read that you've bought. Um, but the thing is though, as a very moody book reader, like I'm very picky about what I want to read. So having a Kindle where I can just like have all the books I want to read and just flip through back and forth has been really a game changer for me. Um, because that's how some of these books have been read so fast. I'm able to read them on my time, on my at my own pace. And I don't feel that stress of picking the wrong book, which has happened before. Like there have been times where Zach is trying to get me out the front door, and I'm just like, I can't go. I need the right book. And it literally messed up my whole night. So I'm really appreciative of that for my Kindle. Am I going to keep the case that I have on now? For right now, I am. I did find on Amazon this like one case that has like a stand. So we'll see. I might not. It just really depends. I kind of like having my little, I call it my licky pop it thingy to like pop socket thing. So it's been nice to just hold it at night. Which leads into my next question. Am I a reader during the day or do I prefer reading at night? And the answer is both. So I am a 9 to 5 girl. I have a full-time job and then I also do, other things as well that are still connected to my regular job. And so reading can be a tricky thing when you work. And that's also why on Book Talk, a lot of people are trying to find this space where they can be themselves. Like, a lot of people judge people on how many books they've read and how many they haven't read. And so, working a regular 9 to 5 job and then, other things on the side, like I take work home with me. I work during the weekend. Um, so it just being able to sit down with a book can be tricky, but when I have free time, like if when I wake up early in the morning or if I'm on the bus or during my break when I have a book in my backpack, I'll read during the day. I like sitting in my chair during the day and just relaxing, but I also really enjoy curling up my bed at night and just reading at night. Um, I actually spent last night, not even 24 hours ago, stayed up over half the night to finish this book I started yesterday. And I'm going to talk about that later. So I read during both, um, mostly during night though. Um, which goes into the next question. Do I like to listen to music when I read? Zach, if you were to ask my fiance, he would say that is the worst thing you can do. He cannot do it and it bothers him. He needs absolute silence, which drives me batty. Do I need silence? No, I don't really need silence. Do I like silence? Yeah, but sometimes my heart just goes dun, 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 and I really need something else to help me through it. And sometimes I do listen to music. It honestly depends on, what book I'm reading and like the vibe I'm getting. So that's a really interesting thing because some people are like, eh, and some people are like, so it just depends. But what am I reading right now? So I read a variety of things, a plethora of things. I like romance. I like thriller. I like mystery. Nonfiction isn't really my vibe. Um, I try, but it's really not. Fantasy. I like fantasy. So I read a variety of things, and like where I find some of my books, I find them from Book Talk, which I know we've talked about. But another thing that I've found is sometimes Kindle just recommends books to you, and then Like, I'll look up the review, and then after I look up the review, if it sounds interesting, then I'm going to read it or not. And that's happened a few times. So for example, I read, where did it go? Oh, here it is. So I was recommended from Book Talk, called The Halloween Boys, which is by Kat Blackthorne. It is currently a trilogy, but is soon to be a fourth book. I read those in about 3 days. It is a very, oh my goodness, it got me such the mindset and mood for Halloween. Um, it is a, like, why choose romance, so, I mean, if you are interested in that type of thing, then you can read that. If you're not, the story, though, the plot building and stuff like that, it's still very interesting, and I really like that. So, I mean, is there a happily ever after? That's part of the issue. Oh my gosh, that is literally part of the issue. There's not really a happily ever after right now because I have to wait till October see how this ends. So I'm already like, mm, but I mean, it was a good book. That was one of the first books I read within like the first few days of getting my Kindle. And I found it because of Book Talk. But on the contrary, the series that I'm reading now, I found because of my Kindle. So in the romance genre, the thing about different genres is that they can mix together. And so some of the books that I've read have been a mixture of the two. So, for example, true story. If you read Twilight, Twilight had a monster is considered a monster romance because Edward Cullen is a vampire and Jacob Black is a werewolf, a shifter romance, a vampire romance. However, when you get into more of the darker type of monsters, that's where people get a little scared. Um, Zach got me this one book as a joke. Um, and it was a monster romance, and I really liked it. Here's the thing about those types of romance novels. The main character is usually like really sweet. The ones at least that I've found. They're like really sweet and they have their moments. It's very Beauty and the Beast-esque. Or I'm trying to remember. There was this one show and like the guy was like this rock gargoyle thing. I can't remember what it is. But the point of the matter is, this has been around for a long time, and so a lot of people feel judged. So I'm currently reading the Dusk Walker Bride series by Opal Rain. The first one was called A Soul to Keep, and it was pretty popular on like Book Talk and Kindle and Goodreads. And I really liked it. Um I literally spent an entire day reading it. And I stayed all night reading it. So that was the last book that I've read that's I literally spent all night reading. It's over 500 pages. I can't remember, let me look. 543 pages. So, like, I read all that in one day, and then that's coming from the heels of reading another book that I read the night before. So I mean, I've been a busy possum. I'm currently reading the sequel, though. It is called A Soul to Heal. Um, so we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure if I'm gonna read the third and the fourth one yet. It honestly depends on how I feel. I don't want to burn myself out from the series, but at the same time, I heard that the later books are not as good. So we'll see. I own them, but we'll see. What is the last book that I've read? The kind of what they call like a book hangover. I read this book called, where'd it go? Called Pen Pal, and it is by J.T. Geisinger. And holy cow, I was speechless. My heart was aching, and it was not. The problem with this book is a lot of people argued over what it really was. So I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. I don't want to say I'm a big fan of Colleen Hoover, but I didn't want to like I was having a serious case of FOMO and felt really left out, so I read it. Um, I have to take my hair clip out. My hair is hurting. So part of the problem with Verity is it is considered a um like thriller romance, like erotic thriller. And the book that I was reading, Pen Pal, um, happened to be another one of those, which is fine. I had no problem reading it. That wasn't really the issue. I just wasn't expecting it. And when I looked up the reviews on Goodreads, um, people were fighting over, was it like misconstrued as the wrong type of book? So I really liked it. I was in tears. It wasn't a regular romance, but it had a romance aspect nonetheless. It's paranormal, and spooky, and it just I really liked it. So I still don't even know how I feel about the book right now because I was like I spoiled it by accident, and that's the other issue with Goodreads is if you accidentally read like reviews like I do, I read them because if I want to spend my money on a book, I don't want to be like, "Oh, this book is great," and then it actually sucks. Like, I don't want that. I don't wanna spend my money on, like, a book that I won't like. But, like, if you're not careful, you can read a review that isn't the right thing for you, and then it gives too much of a spoiler, and it kinda did that, but what I ended up doing was I pushed through anyway because I wanted to know why it happened. I'm glad that I did because it completely impacted me. I was in tears. What have I read this week? I've read a motorcycle romance novel, Motorcycle Club, dark romance. I've read like a fixer romance. He's kind of like um Italian, like The Godfather. He's very like The Godfather. It was great. Um I bought this one series because I'm a big fan of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers growing up with Howard Keel and Jane Powell. And on uh like Kindle, it recommended because I read Ice Planet Barbarians. It's called Seven Brides for Seven Alien Brothers. It literally follows fate, like, according to the reviews, so, like, I bought it, and I was, like, literally dying because I, like, called my mom, and I'm like, "I don't." My mom thought it was hilarious because it followed the movie, and I literally told Zach, I'm like, "I gotta watch the movie now," and he's like, "I know we do," and I'm like, "Yes!" But in all seriousness, though, I'm currently reading the sequel to, that one book. Did I have any books so far that I have DNF'd or did not finish? Yes. I'm not going to be finishing Sister Maiden Monster by Lucy A. Snyder at this moment in time. I read a lot of the reviews and it was apparently just really gross and it was kind of bothering me because it like it's taking place after the COVID pandemic in this world and it just I'm not a fan. I didn't want to like read that cuz it freaked me out a little bit and I was like, not today." But but my game plan for the next book that I'm reading, I'm stuck between trying to figure out if I want to read where did it go? I'm debating if I want to read Runaway Love by Melanie Harlow, There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark, or where did the other one go? Arrgh! So one of those two. So, if you have a preference, let me know in the comments below because I'm trying to figure out what I want to read next, and I cannot decide, and I might need a third party to help me like pick. But I hope everyone enjoyed this episode of Bookworm After Dark. As you can see, it is now very dark. Um, my last thing I want to say to everyone tonight is remember, reading is not something you do for somebody else, you do it for yourself. And that's something that I had to learn because, hearing people judge me or judging other people for what we want to read, it's not cool, dude. It's not cool. So if you want to read a Why Choose, do it. If you want to read a horror novel, do it, dude. Um, if you have a book that you think I might like or you really want to recommend, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for something to add to my TBR. So I hope everyone has a good night. Keep an eye out for our next podcast, and I will see you guys real soon. Bye, everybody.